How's everybody doing today? I apologize, I got a cold, so if I sound like Froggy from Little Rascals, you'll know what it's about. We're going to just touch on a few things very quickly. It's been an honor this year. I was here last year, and if you've seen our defense from last year to this year, it's been a completely different change of culture, and that's because of Dwayne Casey. I've been very honored. He's let me have the defense this year. I've been in charge of that all year. We were 30th last year in the NBA. Now we're around the 8 or 9 mark this year and in the top 15. Our goal has been to be in the top 15 all year. Right now we're 8, 9 in that position right now. So we made a great jump defensively. We're trying to set a culture and a foundation here moving forward as we continue to get better. But our players have bought in. We've completely changed our style of play defensively. If a lot of you remember last year in watching our games, we were more of a blue team that forced the ball down the baseline in our pick and roll coverages. We called at the top up there a weak where we were trying to send a player a certain way. This year we're very standard and very, very simple. All of our guys know going into the game tonight and every game what their roles are. Our coverages remain the same night in and night out. It does not change for us. Now, we might tweak a thing here or there on a certain player like Monta Ellis in certain situations. You might have saw in the walkthrough, we talked about trapping him if there's a point in the game that he was hurting us. But for the most part, you have to guard your man. You have to know our coverages, and you have to be accountable in those areas. And so Dwayne has been very thorough with our guys. They know our expectations, and we do shield drill and the basics every single day possible. Shoot around was a little atypical this morning because it was so early. We did most of our shoot around last night, so they weren't quite on top of what we're going to do. But today we're going to talk about 3 things. Stance, we're going to talk about a mine closeout drill, and then Micah's going to walk you through a tag cutter drill. These drills, we have 5 to 6 core shell drills that we do every single day depending on the opponent. And one of the biggest things that you'll notice with our team is from last year to this year, and it is so simple that it probably goes unnoticed if you watch us play, is we've changed our stance, meaning that we've guarding the ball completely different than we have in the past. And it's so basic that it probably goes unnoticed to the most common fan and maybe to some basketball fans. And what I mean by that is, in the past last year, if this man was coming down the floor, bring the ball down the floor, and we started to get into our stance, we were a team that was forcing the ball to the baseline. So we started to square our shoulders and give them a no-middle stance as he came down the floor. Follow me on that? This year, we've completely changed that to where you're going to hear me during the course of a game, you probably heard me this morning, stay square. Everything we do now is based on a squared stance. We're square to the ball at any point at any time, no matter where that ball is on the floor. What this has allowed us to do, and I think has been the number one reason why we've been so successful this year in controlling the paint, we have not given up blow-by situations, straight line drives, is because of our stance. It sounds very simple, but if you ask any of our coaching staff, that's the number one reason this year why we've been successful, is just a tweak of our stance. You no longer see Jose Calderon up at the top of the key with a Derrick Rose in a situation where he has the ball, and we have Derrick Rose, and now we've changed our stance, and now Derrick Rose, too big, too strong, too much speed into our paint and attacking our bigs. You'll see Jose Calderon now on a squared stance, allowing us to keep him in front of him and shrink the floor. That's the biggest change. And what I'd like to do is just talk about, well, how do we do that? It's been a process, and as you see our games, we're continually reminding our guys because they will close out incorrectly. They will guard the ball incorrectly. It's the nature of basketball. But having that squared stance has been the number one priority. And we started training camp just basically with this drill. We had our perimeter players on the outside. We asked our guys to flip it to them. We asked our guys to go out and close out what you think is a good stance, a good basketball stance to guard the ball. As you notice right now, some of these guys already have dropped their right leg. We tried to make sure that they got squared, squared, and squared. No longer were we bringing the right foot up, left foot up, whatever your philosophy was, whether it was sending it to the baseline or to the middle. Also in this squared stance, we had a couple of rules. Our philosophy was send the ball to the corner, send the ball to the midline or the half-court area. Those are our two areas we want to send the ball. In the post, we used to have a no-middle stance where we were very high on the outside of the guy's shoulder, especially on this box as a dominant box in the NBA. We ended up lowering that and being a square stance, and our rule was the same. Send them to the hash, send them to the nail. Stay square. That little thing changed the whole defense of the Toronto Raptors from this year to that year. It's basic, it's simple, but the concept remained very solid for us because it allowed us to get into our pick and roll coverages very easy, allowed us to understand our closeouts very easy, and it simplified for across the board how we were going to play. One of the things we say when we flip the ball to them is we want to close out the touch. So when we flip the ball to them, some of you tonight, if you're coming to the game, know that they have very good shooters on Golden State. You might have heard this morning. Closing out the touch means we're closing out to touch in a squared stance and touching. A lot of guys will close out and get in the NBA thing that you see those photographs on TV where they're like this, and they're shooting over the top of their head. That's not closing out the touch. So our closeouts are square. We're closing out the touch. The third part then is guard your yard. You're going to hear us say that all the time. It's on our board. It's in every scouting report. You must guard your yard. What's your yard? Your yard is probably a 3 or 4 foot circle area here that you must be able to guard your man and not have to get us into a rotation of you being beat. So once we closed out to touch, we've got our stance squared. The third one is guard your yard. At that point, we feel like we can defend anybody in the league. We're going to pack the paint. We're going to play on the elbows. We're going to play in the boxes. We're going to make you take contested twos. Get you off the three-point line, make you play in the yard, contested twos, and try not to let the ball get into the paint. This year, we're number 1 in the NBA of points allowed in the paint. Last year, Micah, what were we? 26th. It's a huge change. It's a huge change. 30th in field goal percentage to 8 or 9. Number 1 in the NBA to not allow the ball into the paint. Just by changing our stance. All right? So some of the things we've done during the course of time is what a drill you just saw was called the mind closeout drill. Let's get 4 black in a straight line, please.
1 ball. I got you.
Michael, you have a ball?
Yep.
Shooter in the corner. Let me have a white here on the arc. Doesn't matter who it is. Shooter in the corner. Another player in the arc. Mike is going to have the ball underneath. You guys are in a straight line. I need to know right now who you're going to guard. So just point to who you want to guard. You can't guard the same guy. Who you guarding, my man? Nope, you're going to go here. Who's got him? You got to tell me who you're going to guard. You got him? There? Who you got? You got there.
Just like Coach
Mind
said,
closeout.
talk.
We do
You
this
gotta
3-on-3, 4-on-4. This drill was a staple of what we've been doing about closing out because in the NBA, once you get into a situation, 90% of the game is scramble anyways. People are getting broken down. The game becomes a scramble, but you got to be able to close out under control. You got to be able to close out the touch. This drill we used, and we saw it this morning, is a high-volume drill that we use all the time. And all it is these guys are now into their stance. They know that on the pass, I'll yell close. He'll pass. You'll close out to your man. Close out to your man. You're in your spots right here because the ball is on this side of the floor. So we're working on a shell situation. You're in the gap, and you're square on the ball. These closeouts, you all have been taught it. Speed, short choppy steps, high hand to touch. It's very important. When we work on this drill, once again,